You may have heard that your network is your net worth, but researchers at Harvard, MIT, and Stanford, who did a joint project with LinkedIn where they studied over 20 million LinkedIn customers, found that this saying is so much more than a cliche. So, in this three-part series, which I'm super thrilled to bring you today, we're going to be breaking down how you can really level up your career with LinkedIn. If you're new to this channel, hello and welcome. I'm Sarah Edens. I'm a financial consultant and educator, and I'm so happy you chose to join me today. And a big welcome to all my current subscribers. It's so nice to have you back. So I'm so excited to be able to bring you this three-part series because I was waiting until I had really gotten my LinkedIn connections, profile, and so forth to a place where I felt like it could serve as a blueprint for you before we did this series. And so my profile has finally gotten there. I've finally gotten to that 500 plus connections, which took me forever. I think I was probably using LinkedIn for like with a lot of concentration at least and using it frequently. I was using LinkedIn for a good 3 years to get to that point. And it has just absolutely transformed my career. So we're going to be using my LinkedIn profile as a point of reference and a case study today, not because my profile is like the most incredible one out there, but just because I didn't feel comfortable using other people's LinkedIn profiles as an example in this video. I just wasn't sure how they would feel about that. But definitely as you're on LinkedIn and you find people who have profiles, especially if they're working in your industry and you really like the way they have their profiles set up, just definitely feel free to take notes. It's what I did when I was building my profile, was really look at other people in my industry and see how they put their profiles together and what they shared and how they shared it and all these different things to then be able to build a really strong profile myself. And I feel like that was something super helpful. So let's take a look at the rest of this Harvard study, and then we're going to dive into my LinkedIn profile. So this study was really cool. Like I said, they they used data from over 20 million LinkedIn users, which is a huge study. And what they found was that it really demonstrated how networking with a diverse web of professionals who you share a handful of mutual contacts with online may be the best way to find a new job. And one of the lead researchers from the study had this to say. He said, not just a bunch of people who all know each other and all swim in the same pool of information, but people from different walks of life and from places that you might not think are relevant to you. Opportunities come from out of that left field. And I feel like that is a very, very validated reason to really get started on leveling up your LinkedIn profile. If you haven't used LinkedIn much in the last couple of years, it is a completely different place than it used to be 10 years ago. Because I've been using LinkedIn on and off for probably at least 10 years, and there really wasn't much on there, and people weren't doing much with it. And in the last 5 years, it's just exploded, and there is just so much great content and so many cool people and great opportunities. So without further ado, let's pull up my LinkedIn profile and we're going to take it from the top, and I'll link to the other two parts in this series down below once I have them out. But let's take it from the top and see how you can really level up your career with LinkedIn. So the first thing is to nail your headline. And honestly, when I'm busy and I'm getting connect requests from other people, that's sometimes the only thing I will read is that headline of job descriptions. So let me pull up my profile here on LinkedIn and let's take a look at this. So you can see that mine says founder and CEO, financial consultant, educator, and so forth. So what is really helpful about this is that you can put in some like really kind of pack it full. You don't want to make it too long. I feel like my headline could perhaps be slightly shorter, but I haven't figured out how to make it shorter yet. So just make it as long or short as you want to, but you can really pack a lot of information into that headline. And again, what's really helpful is look and see what people in your industry are doing with the headline. Mine starts with founder and CEO because I'm obviously an entrepreneur. And so I feel like that's my thing I want to lead with, is that's because I connect with a lot of entrepreneurs as well on LinkedIn. I want to lead with that thing that's probably going to have the most relevance to other people who I send connect requests to. So just kind of think about how that's going to apply for yourself. I would advise you when you're putting your headline together, put yourself in the best light and put your best foot forward, but don't exaggerate your skills or exaggerate your seniority in your company or anything like that, because you don't want to have a profile that is not genuine. So initially your headline might not be super impressive. That's okay. Everybody knows we all have to start somewhere when we're either beginning our first jobs or you're training into a new industry, like what I did 3 years ago with finance. It's super important to just, start from where you are and build on that. So just whatever is going to put you in the best light, just start with that, but be genuine. The second one is to really polish your profile like a pro. So this comes down to selfies. So you can see here, I've got my nice little selfie, and I have a secret for you. So the way I did this was literally on Canva, which I will link to down below. And all I did was I literally took a screenshot from one of these videos and just did a little, screen grab. And then with Canva, you can do a background remover. And so it just erases everything here in the background. And then you can put something that looks like a professional studio backdrop, make it look like it's got really cool backdrop lighting. And that's all I did for my profile picture. If you want to, you can borrow a friend who has photography skills or hire a professional photographer to do your headshot. I think headshots are very important. Please do not do a selfie, like just with your phone and be like, hi, LinkedIn. Please don't do that, because if you want to put yourself in the best light possible, it really does start with that profile picture. So make sure it's well lit. Make sure that, you're dressed in something that's appropriate for your industry. You might not be wearing like a, suit like I am, but just something that's going to be appropriate for your industry, and something that's just in general, just appropriate for the type of work that you do as well, and reflects you and also reflects your personality. I see people that have some really cute things they do with that. The other place you can get creative is that banner up at the top. You can see right there, it's got my logo, and then it says wealth mindset, finance education, level up your money. So don't forget the banner, because that's a really important thing as well, is just to have that reflect your brand. If you have a personal brand, or just do something with it, make sure that it's got something there other than just that standard, like whatever the blue thing is that comes in the background. And again, you can design this on Canva. It's super easy. And I love Canva so much. There's a lot of things you can do with Canva completely for free that you don't even have to pay for the subscription. I use it as a content creator absolutely all the time. So it's a wonderful subscription that I love paying for. But if you don't want to pay for it, I believe you can make all of this happen for free on Canva as well. So make sure your banner is reflecting your brand, your missions, your accomplishments. I will see authors put like pictures of their books in their banner. They might, if they're a keynote speaker, which wouldn't that be? I dream of the day when I can do keynote speeches. I have really terrible like public speaking anxiety, which is kind of hilarious, like being on YouTube, but it's totally different because I'm at this moment just here talking to my camera. And so when you're up in front of an audience, it's a totally different dynamic, but I do love it. So my dream is definitely to do keynote speeches. But if you are lucky enough to be a keynote speaker, then put that picture of you up there in front of, thousands of people giving your cool keynote speech, and make sure that there's that visual for people that kind of establishes you as an authority if you've gotten to that point in your career. So whatever's going to be best for your industry and reflect your accomplishments. Then let's look here. If we scroll down, there is a thing right underneath my business and my college that says bio.site, and you're probably wondering what that is. I would really encourage you to use bio.site on your LinkedIn profile as a link like that. It is a free service from Squarespace, which is a web hosting company that I use. But bio.site is completely free, and it's basically exactly what it sounds like. It is just a little link that takes people to like a short little bio about yourself. You can put a picture in there if you want to. You can put links then to your website, to your other socials, to like books, if you have books on Amazon, online courses. Like, it's just a really fast way to be able to just walk through and have people be able to quickly access everything in one place. So definitely check out bio.site. Again, it's completely free. And then number 5 is really elaborate on your work experience. So if we scroll down here to about, there is a lot of places that you can talk about your work experience here, but your about section is a really good place to do it. So really just try to be as specific as you can when you're going through your about section and your work experience, which is down below your featured and your posts, and then we get to experience. So in your about section, in your work experience, you don't have to put every job you've ever had. Like if you've been working for 40 years, you don't need to list every job you've ever had, including being like a camp counselor in college. Like it doesn't need to be that specific, but just try to find, like, for your most relevant jobs, really try to make sure you list them, make sure to list the years that you were working there, and then try to be very numeric oriented, because I think that's what I've seen on the most successful profiles that I follow is like, be numbers oriented, because people really pay attention to numbers if they're just scanning your profile. And this is particularly true if you're job hunting and trying to get work. Be as numbers focused as possible. So focus on like projects you completed, like dollar figures that you generated, team, like how big the teams were that you either supervised or worked with. Even this is true in volunteer sections, which we'll get to in another video, but really just try to be as numerically focused as possible, and then be as specific as possible about what your current role or your past roles involved. Because again, if a recruiter is looking through your profile, you want to put yourself in the best light possible. And so that's really what that work experience area is for. And sometimes you might be taking a career break, and that's absolutely fine. And so if that's the case, just plug career break in there. You don't have to necessarily elaborate on that. But just make sure that you're putting all of that work experience out there as much as possible. So that is the first 5 steps to leveling up your career with LinkedIn and having a really polished, professional looking profile. And I will see you again soon in part 2 and 3, which I will link to in the description once they're out. Thank you so much for watching.